Recognize that your mental health is so important. If you don't, then I promise you'll be so distorted. Stiffened by your thoughts, that's a mental rigor mortis. I'm on a hard mission and it won't be aborted. Assorted memories will seem to be your remedy, but in your darkest hour, form into your enemies. Trust your gut, judge people off their energy. Cut them off quick and fast, they are limiting.
You're listening to the Expect Effect podcast, where the concept of self-care is our primary focus. Consider this an acknowledgement of feeling, the birth of every great idea within you. This is your weekly dose of me time, and I'm your host. It's just Nakia. I cannot thank you enough for continuing to put focus on self and coming back once again for another round of self-care. Mondays? Yeah, don't get me wrong. Sundays are still our thing, but thank you so much for bearing with me with the slated Monday release. It has been a wild week. It's been a crazier weekend, and I'm finding things are still getting more hectic by the second. But I believe and I am confident that everything will level out in due time. If you didn't check our social media pages to know why I would be doing a Monday release, then don't worry. Bear with me. We will get there in a second, but I really do want to thank you for just continuing to join me in this space, for working on yourself, for putting focus where it needs to be, and for knowing that your expectations not only ought to, but will definitively define with your beliefs with continued effort, practice, and focus on growth, and of course, above all things, self. We know that life is hard, but we believe that self-care doesn't have to be. So sit back, relax, and unwind as we together uncover ways to truly expect better, do better, and believe better. You can follow me at It's Just Nakia on Instagram and Facebook. We also have personal pages dedicated to the show, at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Wow. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here, excited for what's next, and I have a lot to tell you. So if you would, just join me in my living room. This is our weekly wind down segment. If no one else is asked, I'm asking, how are you? How are things? Are you returning to work? Are you stuck at home? What's going on in your space? What does your world look like? DM us at the Expect Effect podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Let us know what it is. Let us know what it isn't. We are not licensed counselors or therapists, but we are happy to provide a shoulder of support and recommend any resources we found to be of assistance here to us at the show. So thank you again. Look, man, it's been a time. It's been something. So we lost my great grandmother on Sunday, April 26th. She lived to be 105 years old, and prior to her passing, she was the oldest resident of her county. So kudos to her. She was born on April 8th, 1915. So she lived a very, very long life. But you want to talk about the patriarch of our family? I'm so thrilled to have had so many wonderful moments with her. So we also delayed this episode in remembrance of her, and also an acknowledgement of everything that came from this for me. I had a lot of regrouping to do. I had a lot where I needed to be of assistance to the family and those around me, and wanted to be present and engaged. And there's so much that was to it, that when I looked and analyzed where I was really trying to work and just push forward and force myself to get something done, it was really then becoming a draining factor for me. But also it allowed me to analyze and redirect, and again determine and decide and focus on what I want to do to not only better myself, but better myself as a partner, like better myself as a daughter, as a niece, just for my family, for myself, for the work that I do, for the work that I put out. I want to make sure it's the best it can be. But I really did just try to work through it at first, and then I had to acknowledge that I needed rest, that I needed a moment, that I wanted to be close with the people around me, that I wanted to be engulfed in the moment. When I first got to like everyone and we got to where the services were going to be held, I was like, hey guys, I'll be right back. I'm going to go do some quick recording calls. I didn't want to cancel with the guests for the week. So I did those 2 calls back to back. Thrilled with the decorum of my guests. They were just phenomenal in how they handled our exchange and engagement and what they were able to bring to the table. But, despite those circumstances. But I did those 2 recordings, and then we went to view the body and we went to grab some food. And it was after that and just talking with my family and engaging, I realized I really did wanted to unplug from anything that seemed like an ought to do or a need to do outside of just being the best I could be in that space. So I really did just have to step back and leave that be, and it led to me recognizing where I wanted to step back in other areas, and really, it gave me more insight into how I wanted to proceed and go forward, not only for myself, but again, as a partner, as a member of a family, of a community, of a workplace. In any instance, I want to make sure that I'm giving my best output, and I also want to make sure that I can recognize when there's a change, a shift, or something else needing to happen. That being said, we are approaching the end of our first season here at the Expect Effect podcast. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am a brand independent of the show, and I'm itching to get some things done outside of this project. I've had a lot of fun. I've learned a lot of things, and there is so much more to be brought to this show and to this platform. But there's more I need to learn, more I need to experience, and other things I need to work on to make sure that this platform is continually a platform that is propelling, progressing, and above all else, putting out content that's actually good, right? That actually matters and that provides substance. So we'll announce later when you can expect the end of the first season and what's going to come with that, and other projects I'll be getting into that I want you guys to also plug into if it proves to be something you're interested in. But I do want to thank you for helping me learn, for helping me progress, and helping me build such a wonderful foundation here at the Expect Effect podcast. I am very, very excited to not only wrap up this first season, but show you how much I care for this platform when you see how amazing our next season is going to be when we are ready to bring that forward. All right, so man, I'm a little winded. I'm sorry. I feel like that was a lot. Part of that I know was like an emotional ramble for me. So thank you for, bearing with me there. And then part of it, of course, was, me filling you in, telling you what's going on, just, keeping it all the way real with you and letting you know that we are coming to the end of our first season. I'm just really, really proud of this project and how it's progressed and how it will continue to progress. And I'm proud of everything that I've been able to gain as a result of this platform. So, man, it's only up from here, I promise you. I'm not leaving it behind. We're just putting it on pause for a little while. That being said, let's get into this week's topic. We're going to have 3 episodes that are presented to you, 2 full episodes, and then a bonus format episode. Also, the intros are going to be a little different. This is, the full intro that you're going to get. You got here, and then everything else you're going to hear is just going to be a setup for the conversation. I don't want to take anything away from the guests who were so gracious in working with me, and just giving everything that they had in terms of their answers, engagement, and insight. I know you're going to love everything that you're about to hear, so I want to make sure that you can get it as much as you possibly can. And then not to mention, I myself just have a lot of catching up to do. I've got a lot of things I need to get back into and start engaging with and start touching base with and start cleaning up. And oh man, I'm kind of behind, I'll be honest, but we're going to make this the best of the best this week. And I really want to highlight the people that took an opportunity to speak with me here on the show and provide everything that they could to their respective topics. So this week we have Washed series creator Jerod Couch. Say that 3 times fast. But Washed is a show you can find on Instagram. I'm going to let Jerod tell you more about the backstory behind that and kind of walking through it. But I want you to really get familiar with that show. It is an independent project. No word on where season 2 will be housed as of yet. But for now, get familiar with season 1 on Amazon Prime. We're going to be talking about tapping into your creative outlets and brand expansion. We're going to talk about overcoming periods of creative slump. We're going to define what creativity means, eliminating self-doubt, engaging your senses while maintaining structure, understanding that yes, working hard is cool, but you also need to play even harder. You need to learn to fearlessly tackle your faults and shortcomings. And if you like what you're hearing and you really want to dive into the show further, I want you to visit our show's blog page. You can find that link on our Instagram and Facebook bio. Again, that's at the Expect Effect Podcast. You're going to be able to tune in here and find detailed show notes and journal entry questions that coincide with our show's topic for the week. Now, this past week, we did not put up a blog post for the previous episodes, but I do look forward to getting that done later this week. Better late than never, and I thank you guys so much for bearing with me, as it really has been a time, not only for myself, I know, but for also many of you. And as we transition into our new normal or whatever else is to be expected, I want you to know we're right here with you. So again, we have detailed show notes and journal entry topics there on our blog page at the Expect Effect Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Jerod was so gracious in his presentation, in his swagger, and his demeanor. You're going to love everything about this engagement, and you're also going to be very fond of the advice he's giving, the gems he's spitting, and the realness and authenticity of his nature. Stay tuned. You're going to hear a quick advertisement, but right after that, we're coming back with Wash series creator Jerod Couch.
Hey everyone, my name is Jerod Couch. I am the creator, director, writer, whatever is needed on a independent television series based here in Dallas, Texas called Washed. It's produced by my production company, The Creative Couch. And we are headed into season 2 of the series. So we're super excited. Season 1 is currently on Amazon Prime. And season 2, we don't know exactly the home for it right now, but we're looking for a home. And we think we've taken it to a whole new level. So we're super excited.
It is a show that from season 1 was taken to a whole new level, in my opinion. Just as a Black creative, watching like other Black creatives come on the screen and be so damn talented. So thank you so much, One, for sitting down with us today. I'm very appreciative to have you in the space. Before we get too far into the topic of overcoming creative obstacles and really eliminating self-doubt, talk to me a little bit about the Creative Couch production company. So you do have Washed. What are other things that your production company is into?
So thank you so much for having me on. It's I'm honored whenever I'm asked to appear on anything. I'm just shocked that people want to hear me talk.
Man.
The Creative Couch is something I created. It's my company. I created right after I was terminated from a position. So I came up. I went to film school at the University of Texas. I worked for ESPN for 5 years, which helped launch Longhorn Network in Austin. Then I moved up back to Dallas, which is my home city, to work for the Texas Rangers, the baseball team. And after 3 years, I had earned my MBA part-time, and I was looking for an MBA job, something that paid more than what I was making. So I found that job, and a year later, the position was terminated. So after that, I was like, you know what? Let me get back to my passion. My passion is creating, specifically creating content. And that's when I created the Creative Couch so I could continue to direct, produce, write. And currently, we Wash is the big project that is taking up a lot of my time. But also, a couple of days ago, I had a real estate shoot where uh, this agency I work for, they hired me to come out, shoot a house they're attempting to sell, and then package it and put it all together so they can put it online. So I work with real estate agents. I work with law firms. I shoot weddings, looking to get out of that business, but weddings do pay and it funds your passion. So whatever helps me create Washed and keep creating long form scripted content, which is the fun stuff, I'll do just about anything. So we shoot wedding, anything with video, I do and have done as far as corporate videos, weddings, birthdays, anything under the sun, commercials. Just did a commercial recently. So yeah, that's what we do. Any and all things video.
I really love that you mentioned that you are willing to do and understandably wanting to step away from weddings, but that you're
Hmm.
willing to do those things because it allows the funding of your passion. So Wash
Yes.
definitely in and of itself is an amazing prize, is an amazing project, excuse me. And I want to kind of break this question into two parts. First, what allowed you to adopt the mentality that no matter what, I'm going to do what's necessary to propel this dream? And then secondly, and feel free to answer in whichever order you choose, but secondly, what led you to Wash, to be so passionate about that project, to want to put something like that out? I mean, it's a really good show. I can't knock it.
Thank you. And you know what? When people say, because you've seen season one, and I just can't wait for you to see season two. The amazing amount of work that our cast and crew has put in, and what they have put on tape, on film, it's really digital now, but what they put on that 16 by 9-inch screen is amazing. I'm proud of season one. Don't get me wrong. That's the baby, that's the foundation.
Of
But
course, yeah.
see, season two takes it to another level because we went from 30 people on the cast and crew to 150. And that's not counting extras. If you start
30
counting
to
extras, you're
150?
yes,
Holy man, I'm
yes.
sorry. That number difference like blew me. I was thinking he was gonna be like, 30 to 75. 30, but he was like
It's
30 to 150.
and that's just counting people that contributed behind the scenes and on screen principal actors, actors that by principal I mean that had dialogue. That's not counting, the extras, all the family members that helped out. Because those are the people behind the scenes, the husbands that, like my wife, I'm throwing ideas at her, she's giving her ideas. Everybody on the crew has somebody that they pitch their ideas before they come and pitch it to us. So all those people, but let me answer your initial question. Let me start with what led me to Wash. Well, after I was terminated from that position, I was looking, I had the Creative Couch and yeah, I had planned on doing videos to make money, but I also, dating back to film school, I had wrote a feature film. And so I was like, let me get back to that because for the past 7 years, I've been doing commercials, documentaries, stuff around sports, and I hadn't done long form scripted. So I sat down, I wrote the first two episodes and, and we just did two episodes to begin with. And it was really just at the time, it was something to do and to continue to be creative. So we did two episodes. We got a team together. We were just looking for people with pulses. We found some really good actors, but we really just needed a team of folks to help us pull this off. And then we had success. We showed everybody episode one and two, and we got positive feedback, and they appreciated the production value. And I was thinking, if you appreciate this, we can do much, much more. So we went back to the drawing board and we created episode 3 through 8 in season one and put that out. And so that was really what drew me to this, is because I wanted a creative outlet to tell this story of a quarter life crisis and kind of what I was going through at that point. On screen doesn't mimic what I was going through, but it was definitely a quarter life crisis, like turning 30 and trying to rediscover yourself after, I had been terminated from a job and I was trying to rediscover my passion. And so I wanted to tell the story. And so that's how I the reason I got involved or started Wash and created it. And then I think the second question, what keeps you going to make it reach its finish line? And I have a motto that I think people always have this sense that somebody owes you something. They owe you, like, if I do something for this, I owe them. And I don't think
Right.
you owe anybody, I don't think you owe anybody anything after the fact, right? You owe everything you have during the fact. So
Oh, that's
I
powerful.
thank you. So what I mean by that as it pertains to the Wash crew is that we had those 150 people, and I'll take you back. So we shot in season two for 5 months, right? We could only shoot on the weekend, so it was 5 months every weekend except for holidays, and we were shooting 15-hour days, and nobody was getting paid, right? We had to scrap together every single penny to afford production, food, locations, wardrobe, all that stuff, and nobody was getting paid. So even though, so we've been working on season two for going over almost a year and a half now, and I still feel like I owe every single bit of creativity and hard work and sweat to the cast and crew to get this thing to the finish line. And I owe it to myself to kind of to see it through to the finish, and not just because a lot of people, as they get to the finish line, they kind of ease up. I take that old football mentality of run through the line. So um, I feel like, once you get in something, it's incumbent upon you to finish it and do as good a job as you can and give the cast and crew everything, because I can't promise you that I'll have another project to direct or create, but I can give you this and we can have this forever. Once it's up there, it's going to be out there. And, hopefully if when we're 70, we can look back and say, hey, we did that back in 2019, 2020. So yeah, it's my dream. It's a filmmaking, and it's my passion. I wake up, I think about it all the time. And so I'm going to continue because I love doing it. And I'm going to find, as we mentioned earlier, I will do projects I don't necessarily enjoy. I might be good at filming weddings, but I don't necessarily love them. It's not my passion, but I'll do them so I can get to my passion.
I love that. And I really love what the point you made regarding just, kind of assessing that what happens in this moment, what I'm doing right now, this matters. So I have to
Hmm.
bring the best to the table because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And it reminds me something of, I heard Kerry Washington do an interview when she was originally discussing Scandal and the weight on her shoulders to be the first Black lead actress on a major
Hmm.
television network for the first time, I want to say in 4 years. And she said, the reason I went into that so boldly and so profoundly is because I felt this obligation to do my absolute best work. Not only for the weight and pressure that was behind her, but because it was going to be out there, right? It was going to be a production that we were
Hmm.
going to see and be able to take in. And she knew a lot of perception as far as industry professionals would be concerned towards having a Black woman in that role would then be shifted
Yeah.
by her performance. So then to hear you say, like, we created this independent show, we went to the drawing board, but we really gave it everything we had. And I feel like when you look at independent projects like this that are starting out and you see massive success take off that allows you to go from a crew of 30 to 150 people,
Hmm.
I think there has to be a blood, sweat, and tear type of energy there. And I felt all of that
Yep.
when I was watching the show. I felt like there were like for every actor and actress that I saw, I felt like their hearts were out there, that they were truly trying and working to
Yeah.
be exposed. And even when you see the bloopers, there's such a good energy there. How did you
Yeah.
manage like to put this group or like, tell me how this group came about when you look at your actors and actresses and the crew and cast that you have on that show.
Yeah, so I'll talk about season one and season two because season two is so fresh in my memory because I'm going through the process right now of the post production. But in season one, it was really, we had a casting call, but nobody knew who we were, right? And the thing about independent projects, especially in Dallas, and is that, and this is a side note, but one thing I'm determined to do is take my time and do it, control everything I can control and make it as good as I can. I feel too many times we have independent projects, and this probably isn't exclusive to Dallas, that rush and they're in a hurry to go nowhere. Take your time, and this is what we're trying to do. And I'm speaking to myself. Take your time, make it as good as you can. Like we can't do everything HBO does, but we can do what we can do. and take your time and make it right. So in season one, we had a casting call and we filled all the main roles we could. And then all the other roles we filled in around them. And if you look at the credits in season one, I was writer, producer, director, director of photography. I even helped set up lights, helped set up audio. I was the editor, marketing, you name it. I even was calling around at lunchtime trying to get food for everybody. But we would what we did in season one was we took a lot of people. Some people had experience, some people didn't. If they didn't, I tried to teach them from what I knew or what I thought was the right way to do it. But overall, it was really just about getting people that saw the vision and had a dream, and we gave them opportunity, and in return, they gave us an opportunity. And that's what I always talk about is as a director, you can be like, I casted you, I gave you this opportunity. At an independent level, you're giving me an opportunity to direct you, and that
That's powerful.
is
That's a
value.
that's a really strong way to think about it.
It is, and you know what? And I had that revelation because I'm I've never guaranteed another opportunity to direct again. So I'm so thankful they trust me and stuff that I've done in the past that makes them think he can point me in the right direction and he can put me in a good light. And I think actors appreciate that, and I should know I do. And then what's funny is that when you get the snowball rolling downhill and starts to pick up momentum. In season two, my director of photography for season two, he reached out to me and he had watched the show. He loved the bloopers. He was like, "Looks like you have a fun cast and crew." And he said, "But I looked at the credits and your name was under there. I'd like to take that off your plate." So he 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 brought on his gaffer, which is the lighting guy. He helped us get a professional audio on set, and he borrowed or he called out to industry professionals and would borrow equipment to make our stuff look that much better. So what I'm saying in all this is that once we got the ball rolling, people would reach out to us and they would want to be a part of our team, and they start filling roles we didn't have: costume designer, set designer, craft services, marketing director. Which our marketing director, Dexia Smith, she's been a godsend. She's amazing. She's
Yo, she is a
great.
powerhouse all in of herself. I follow her
Isn't
on
she?
Instagram. Man,
I call her the walking Red Bull. she
she seems like she has that much energy.
the woman never runs out of energy. It's amazing. I think I've seen her twice without that much energy, and it was because we were working 15 to 20-hour days. And so yeah, all those people started to join the team, and then so I don't know if you know this yet or realized it or heard me say it, but our storyline evolves in season two from a single story around one character to an ensemble. So when you watch
Oh,
season
that's
two,
very exciting.
you're gonna have like four stories going on at once, and they're all full stories. So when you
Ooh.
add more lead characters, which we have like four leads, then you have to add supporting characters. So we added four substantial supporting characters. We had 130 people submit for those four roles. So in the beginning where we wanted people with pulses and they could speak clearly and they didn't get nervous on camera, in season two, we had about four people for each role that we was like, we could see you in that role. And then it came down to, all right, let's pick the nuances of how we want this character to look, act, and feel. And that's how we built the team for season two, is that we had a lot more options and we could pick the right person from our options for those roles. And we really found some really talented actors, some stars, and we were able to take a lot of the people that tried out for those roles and put them in other roles that weren't as big, but still they could use those opportunities for their demo reel, or they would at least have a few lines or a few scenes on camera. So we've been very it's benefited us a lot that there's a lot of talent in Dallas and they see the vision and got behind us. So I'm forever grateful for that.
I really, really love the point you made to say, like, when I work with these people and when we're bringing these people on, I mean, the domino effect of putting out good work, of course, is people feeding into that and wanting to get connected with
Hmm.
you. I originally heard about the Wash series from Zane Martinez. And then he had you
Yeah,
guys on, and I was like, oh, I absolutely have to get in on this. And I watched the entire series in one day. Me and my girl sat down and watched it. But there was something that you could tell, like we're on the precipice of something else. Like you have to stay plugged into
thank
this
you.
because there's something moving in traction. So I just appreciate you so much sitting down with us for a few moments just to kind of talk about that project and your passions and your direction and what's led you there. You have dropped a number of gems, things that I wouldn't have even considered. When you talk about even literally, I think about all the times you hear about different directors, but you know who your powerhouse people are, and you know who the people are that
Mm.
continue to make good connections with their folks. But to hear you say, like, I feel like it's an honor for me to work with these people, that speaks to your heart, your determination. And I feel like any of the projects you've produced in the past while working with ESPN or the Texas Rangers. So I just really, really want to thank you so much for coming on. Before we disconnect, however, if you wouldn't mind just telling people, like, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who says, like I feel like I got passion. I feel like I maybe got a little bit of talent, or, somebody who's wanting to break into the industry of acting, or even just break into the aspect of creating production. What if you do want to bring the person what if you want to be the person who's the gaff guy, right? What if you want to be the lighting? What if you want to be the editor? What would
Yeah.
you kind of give in terms of advice?
Learn your craft. Don't try to skip steps. Don't be in a rush again to go nowhere. Be persistent. Be consistent. And I would say that three keys to success, at least for me, has been delayed gratification. So don't always expect to live in this microwave society, especially when you're in an industry such as film. There's a lot of people trying to do this. So it's important you're really good at your job and that you put yourself out there, make connections, be humble, be willing to take on the grunt jobs. Because I'll give you a story real quick. A lot of we've had a lot of people come through the Wash family, right? And there's some people that wanted to be the man so quickly, right? And they couldn't stand, at least this is my perception, they didn't want to do the grunt work, so they would just fall off, right? And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times you see people that come in and just stick with the grunt work. And if they just stick with it a little bit longer than the other person, they will get everything they ever wanted in the beginning just because they stuck with it a little longer. So I would say delayed gratification, consistency is a big one. I, I would take consistently good over occasionally great any day. Can I depend on you? Those people, as far as if you're trying to be an actor or a gaffer or a crew member, is that we need consistency from, your crew heads, your directors, your producers. We want to know we can depend on you. We don't have to worry about you. We can go worry about something else. We can worry about the story and getting the story out there. And we don't have to worry about craft services. We don't have to worry about wardrobe. We don't have to worry about set design. Those things are taken care of. And, we can worry about how do we make the most impactful story, because that's all the viewers ever going to care about. And that's the thing they're going to remember is the story good? And then I would say if you're trying to be a director, get out there, get you a team, get you people you trust. Also, know that if you're a director, you're there for a reason. Your intuition and your feel for the story is there. So I say that to say when you get opinions, because you'll get a lot of them if the project is big enough, you'll get a lot of opinions. Take the feedback, take the notes, but when it comes time to make the decision, it's on you. So being a director, you're on an island and it can be lonely, but you know that you're there for a reason and you're there to tell a story. And if there's something you want or something that you're not getting, insist on getting it. And I've learned that the hard way because there's been times where I'm like, okay, don't worry about it. We'll get a different angle or we'll get a different shot. Or, that take was good when I really want something else from the actor. Your intuition, and you're there for a reason because you have that intuition, you have that feel for what needs to be done to tell the story properly. So that's what I would say is, learn your craft, be consistent, and um, go after it. And it's not easy. And you have to have that stamina, and you have to, you know, hearing no gets easier because you're going to hear it a lot. We hear it from film festivals. I hear it from people, just learn how to grow a tough skin and move along because that's the nature of the business.
Man, I really love that. And I know I said that was the last question, but I lied. This is really the last question. In all of those things, when you are a director, when you are so hands-on, when you are pouring yourself into something, I know sometimes there can be
Mhm.
a disconnect from family or even a disconnect from self. So how do
Yeah.
you just remain grounded? I know sometimes it's not even necessarily a balancing act versus an act of
Right.
prioritization. So how does that work for you?
It's good to have people around you that support and understand your passion. And if you're doing independent film, I could say, turn your phone off at a certain time and make sure you give family time. Do make sure you give family time, but sometimes you can't turn it off. You have to be plugged in 24/7, especially when you're in the heat of things. But I would say just, make sure to make time for those people, but if you can, involve your loved ones in your passions so that they're there along the way for the ride, because you're going to need them. And it's especially with independent film, it's hard, explaining to my wife why we're working 17, 18-hour days, right? And every weekend for 5 months. So it's really important that they're understanding. But then when you have the opportunity, turn around and give them your time when it's available. And you got to know the reason you're doing it, right? And if the reason is strong enough, you'll make it through, and people will support you. So yeah. And then I know you mentioned in the beginning about Corona and how creatives stay consistent, and they could be reaching a block as far as like a writer's block or a creative block. My advice on that is just what I do, and this just works for me, is that you have some very um, some jobs in the process that require all your attention, all your creativity. You have to be fresh. Save those for when your mind is clear. Now, if you get to a point where it's just so hard, that's when I switch to the tasks that require less concentration, that might just be, more of like, I'm the editor of Washed as well, right? So for me, color correcting, I can put on music and color correct at the same time. I can't edit and listen to music at the same time. So I'll save my editing for times when I'm fresh. And then toward the end of the day, when I'm running out of steam, I will switch over to color correcting, and I'll put on music and I'll color correct while I listen to music. And that allows me to get more done in a day as opposed to just shutting it all down when my brain is fried. So I would say just, you have to keep going. You can't stop. If you stop, here's another thing, and I'll stop here because I do ramble. But one thing that I like to say is that I don't let a bad hour turn into a bad day. And if it turns into a bad day, don't let that bad day turn into a bad week. So if you need an hour to go take a nap, go take a nap, come back. If you need a whole day, take that day. Just don't let it turn into a whole week or a whole month of uh, wasted time. That would be my 2 cents. And
I feel
if it,
that. And I really love the point you made about being comfortable with, like, if it is a bad day, don't let it turn into a bad week. Cause some
hmm
people I get caught up on the hour situation. I'd be like, damn, I didn't let this ride 8 hours. And then
yep,
it can be hard to kind of let your foot up off your own neck and say, no, that's okay. Just get
yeah,
back in it. So that's really
yeah.
awesome.
And don't let people ruin your day. And don't let, and I'm guilty of this. I'm getting better at this. Like, if you're creative and you have a big team or whatever, somebody's liable to do something you don't like. But realize this, you got a mission and you got to keep going. So don't let people throw off the track. And like you were saying, like, you look up and you're like, man, I just let that one bad moment make ruin my whole day. And that's definitely not productive.
Man, thank you so much for providing your insight, your wisdom, and your
Yeah.
feedback on this topic, guys. This has been another week of expecting better, doing better, and believing better. I'm your host, It's Just Nakia. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at It's Just Nakia. And where can they find you?
The Creative Couch on Instagram, and Wash Series on Instagram, and also washseries.com. So anywhere Wash Series is listed, we're probably there.
Man, get in and get plugged in. If you haven't already watched, go ahead and get to watching. And remember, life is hard, but self-care doesn't have to be.